Have you ever like feared that if you actually find really good photo evidence of maybe a UFO, Bigfoot, dogman, feral
Yeah,
person, have you ever
yeah.
feared that if you actually have real footage and you post it that, people can come after you or maybe something
I
can
have
happen
I have footage that I have not released.
for
This
that
is
reason?
kind of, yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
I get chills when you
Yep.
say that. Yeah, I mean, I interviewed somebody too that said that they is a Project Sasquatch. He also talked about how the Men in Black have come after him before. I mean, do you believe in the Men in Black?
I don't want to discredit like his experience but I absolutely 100% believe that there are people, trying to keep this stuff quiet. For sure. For sure. The Men in Black, I think the Men in Black came about as a result of the Roswell incident, which now that I'm not sure if you're following this stuff very closely, but it's coming out that all of that stuff was actually true. And not only did a crash happen, but we still have the craft, and that with this craft, it has capabilities of traveling through different dimensions, whether it traveling through different dimensions and space and water and air, and the government is telling us about it. It's just nobody's listening, and it's weird. It's really weird. And you can go on Congress's website and look this stuff up. Like, it's not like it's some weird back Reddit back channel. It's like it's out there. Like when the balloon situation happened, um, I was looking up. What did I say? I was just Googling it, like UFO in Congress or something like that, because I was trying to see what Congress's response was. Well, a link brought me to Congress's website that had these PDF links in it, and I
Do you
just
remember the
started clicking.
website link, by the way? Do you remember
Um,
the website name?
I've got it written down, but it's Congress. It's congress.gov. Like, it's congress.gov that the website came from, or that the information came from. And I was like totally shocked, and I made a video of it, and you can see me like laughing and like being like, this is out here. Like, and nobody's talking about this stuff. Like, we're worried about all kinds of craziness. But yeah, dude, I can send you the link for sure.
Yeah, send me.
And
I'll
you can
probably
go
put it in the
through it,
description.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look through all of this stuff, and it's out there. Like, the Congress has like regular briefings about like UFOs and things like that, and they talk about it, and it's not like a hush hush situation. But I think the Men in Black was came from a time. Sorry, my studio is where I keep all my haunted stuff, so weird stuff tends to happen around here. But the Men in Black were a result of our society not being prepared for the the acceptance of extraterrestrial life. So they had to cover it up. I mean, Area 51 wasn't officially identified as even being there until like the mid, like late or early 2000s. You know, they didn't even admit that it was even there.
Yeah, so
So
do you think, especially with all this, it seems like there's a lot of suppression around this information. So do you think
yeah,
that the government has kind of like or maybe certain officials or whatever have an attitude of like, okay, you can't handle this, so we're gonna suppress this information, and we'll deal with the extraterrestrials when they come. Like we have certain agreements with them, or we have certain
right,
zones in the forest that we keep under control so that you don't know that these things are here.
yeah,
Do you think it's like that?
absolutely, absolutely, yeah, for sure. I can actually around Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Um, not sure if you know much about Oak Ridge, but Oak Ridge is where they made the atom bomb to drop on Nagasaki. So they actually have a particle accelerator at Oak Ridge. And if you talk to some of the people that live around here that work security there, they will tell you some crazy stuff, man. It's about things that they get prepared for.
Wait, what is that particle? What was it again? Particle.
A particle accelerator.
And like, what is
So,
that? What does that do?
so the biggest one is in I think Sweden, and it's ran by CERN. It's not necessarily a company, and it's not necessarily a government organization, but it's a group of scientists. And this particle accelerator is like the size of a city. Okay, so they take particles and they shoot them around in circles until they eventually crash into each other, very, very high speeds. During that explosion, they measure what exactly happens, try to create new elements or so forth. Now they have a smaller version right over here in Oak Ridge, and not too long ago, it was in the news for a while, at least the local news, that they were talking about opening portals through this collider. They weren't sure exactly what was going to happen when they took these elements and smashed them together the way that they did. So, yeah, we have some weird stuff that happens as a result of us just kind of meddling with it.
So do you think this is or like a case of? So I watched a video on the CERN thing, by the way, and they
Okay,
linked it
cool.
to the movie with Angels and Demons and stuff. So do you
Yeah.
think that people are intentionally doing this to open up portals to demonic stuff, or like do you think this technology is in the hands of bad people, good people? Do you think it's like a neutral, like people are just experimenting?
Well, okay. I think that there is a genuine human curiosity with this. But at the same time, like, do I think that there's, some guy dressed as Darth Vader, working in a lab somewhere doing this? No, I don't. Like trying to bring demons out into our world to take over, New York or whatever. I don't think that that's happening. But I do think that um, as a result of corruption with our system, that people are trying to get ahead and trying to financially gain, and they are willing to push the limits of what a normal rational person would do so they can become that rich and famous person or whatever. I don't think that they're going to create something that gives them the ability to like completely control everything, but I think that they're pushing it too far in a sense that we're getting to an area that we don't really understand, and there's a lot to this universe that maybe we shouldn't mess with. So
I think it's interesting. One thing that comes to my mind is I remember talking about portals. I think I've seen one because I sometimes have out of body experiences. I used to have this reoccurring out of body experience where I'd watch this spirit break into my house. So like
yeah,
the video, the shadow figure that you put up on or that I just showed in the beginning, I saw a
yeah,
figure that looked exactly like that, and I'd be out of my body, and I sense it coming to the door. It's like breaking in, and they'll turn the
yeah,
doorknob, look at me, and then run into the house. And then I'd be like, "What the hell?" This one time in particular, though, because I've had certain dark ones that happen like that,
yeah,
came out of my body, and the way that I come out of my body sometimes is my body will kind of just get loose and lucid all of a sudden. I'll feel a surge
yeah,
of energy, and I just come out. And
yeah,
then I went I went into like this room next to my what do you call it? I went into my dad's room, and then in my dad's room I saw this like like this bunch of energy just it was almost like a black portal. And then it had a bunch of voices. I looked into this thing and it was like kind of sucking me in. And there was a bunch of
yeah,
voices in it, insanity, just every time like I'd
yeah,
feel it, I just felt like I was going insane. And it was just this vortex of energy just combining
yeah,
together. And
yeah,
then I looked at it and I went back into my room, and then I saw all of a sudden, like my dad actually, but I think it was a demon disguised as my dad. Actually, no, when I got into my room, sorry, I'm trying to remember this. When I went into my
Yeah, I got you,
room,
man.
a demon, the demon that was like disguised as my dad, threw me into my room, locked me in, and then was just grabbing his head and like losing his mind like that. And he kind of like made me stay into my room. And I remember feeling really powerless. I was like, oh shit, this guy just bullied me and kicked me into my room and didn't let me get out. But that's what I saw in my dad's room. It was just this conglomerate of energy, and inside of it was just this endless void, empty, dark place.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kind of want to describe what a portal looks like, it's like that. It's kind of like somewhat, and I don't know how these things come about. It could be, I don't even know the history behind that experience or why I even got it. But that's just how maybe when people use technology, that can open up like that.
Absolutely, man. And that's what I was saying. Like, it's kind of like one of those situations like, okay, yeah, you open this, but how are you going to close it? You know, and what's going to come out of there? You know, we created this thing, you know, or we opened this thing up, but we don't know what's going to come out of it, you know, and yeah, man, it's a rabbit hole that you just gotta. I don't know what I don't know what the whole reason in trying to do this stuff is really. I mean, I guess maybe the advancement of the human race and all, but like, I don't know, man. It's scary. There's a lot of weird things, and especially like around Oak Ridge that happen that people talk about. Like they talk about seeing portals in the skies, like around Oak Ridge.
What does that look like?
I've personally never seen one, but the descriptions that from people is basically like a ring that just pulls open. It's like stretching a rubber band out, and they'll see it stretch, and then like it's like nothingness in the middle, and then it pulls closed. So
interesting.
Yeah,
that can be symbolic. Go ahead.
Right, it could, but at the same time, we don't know what's on the other side of these things. Like we don't, because there's no way to know. But yeah, I mean, okay, so think about. I'm not trying to bring politics into this, but when Donald Trump was elected president, what was like one of the first things that he did? Started Space Force, right?
Yeah.
Like immediately, it was like a civilian walking into a government situation, getting access to that stuff, and been like, "What do you mean? We don't have a way of defending ourselves from stuff from like outer space or other dimensions. Like we get on this now." Like it was like when he did that, I just started laughing, but I was just like, yeah, there we go. That makes sense now. I mean, and then of course with all of this information that's coming out now, it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So yeah. But with the cryptid stuff, as far as them coming out of portals, and that's the only time that people are going to witness them. I'm undecided as far as that goes. There, in my opinion, there are cryptids out there. Feral people, 100% are out there. And then you look into like Bigfoot or dogman. I try to keep my channel somewhat grounded. So, and I try to approach these cryptids from our understanding of the universe. So a lot of times, like I will talk about like an established food source, or, do they have water? Because I'm looking at them as, living on this planet, not going back and forth through these portals. And the experiences that I've had with what I believe to be a Bigfoot, it makes you think that they are not from this planet or this reality or whatever, because of how they move. And I've gotten into like this cloaking theory lately, and it's a rabbit hole that's just way too deep. But when I'm out there and I'm alone with these things, um, there is a connection to me that these things are real. Like, um, and I find evidence of it. Now, a lot of the times, and you see it on TVs and stuff like that, they really try to um, show up the evidence. You know, they try to make it feel like whenever you walk out into the woods, you're going to have a Bigfoot or a dogman encounter or something like that, which in reality, that's just not how it works. Um, in my videos, I don't show a whole lot of evidence. In my opinion, I don't like. I'm stoked if I get a piece of audio, like just one sound in most of my videos. That's basically what I'll end up showing is just like one awesome sound or one crazy footprint that I find. Um, and that's one thing that drove me freaking crazy. So on one of my videos, I think it was Finding Bigfoot, it was the first time that I had actually found a footprint, like a real
I
footprint.
think I
And
actually got the photo here. Hold on, let me see.
I was like freaking out, man. I was like so excited. I was like, holy shit, like there is no reason for this to be out here. No reason to be out here. Now, I didn't, and because I was so excited, like I didn't think about like putting my feet next to it and like taking pictures and measuring and stuff like that because I'm hearing this thing moving in the woods, by the way. Like I'm hearing it and like I see it like moving through the woods. So I'm not just going to be like, okay, I'm going to break out my nerdy stuff and start doing all my, because you're in a situation where I mean, look how big that thing is. I mean, you can see the toes. Like, and it's like where did that come from? you know there's either a giant human running around out in the woods barefoot, or there is this Bigfoot. And dude, I'm convinced that that is 100% a Bigfoot footprint. And when I put that evidence out there, the first like several like comments were like fake, fake, fake. I'm like, oh, why would I fake that, man? Like, no. Like, and it was so frustrating. So yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting episode. Do you think that these things give you hints that it's there? And like, what's the process of like maybe? So you're in the woods, you're looking at everything, you're admiring the beauty, and
Yeah.
then when does it start becoming? Wait a minute, there's a cryptid here. I feel like I'm getting watched. Like, what is the process like? Kind of seeing these things.
So I do my best to try to respond to where people said that they see these things. Okay. So I've got an idea of where I think they are, but the majority of the videos that I end up putting up on YouTube are there somebody else has already had an experience in this location, and I'm going to spend my time going out there and trying to either validate their experience or just enjoying myself out in the woods, one of the two. Um, except for with Black Mountain. Black Mountain's a little bit different because that's a place that I've always been going to. But when I start thinking that there is a cryptid, it's like going into a haunted house. It's the feeling is very similar to that. The environment changes. The idea, it's being from East Tennessee and spending my time out in the woods, like I know what a bear smells like. You know, I know when there's a bear around me. Like there's cues that you can pick up on, whether it be either just a footprint or their scat or their smell. But then when you get into a situation with like the Bigfoot, when the odor is totally different. Like there's a change in the energy that it's. I want to say it's like being in a haunted house, but it's not like it's more intense because there is some sort of being out there with you that has a body that can do serious harm to you. We think, I mean, a lot of the times, most of the times, like the dog man, mainly he's described as being this overly aggressive sort of being. Whether now Bigfoot, people have kind of mixed emotions about. Um, but I view them when I'm out there, how I try to approach it. I'm very loud for one. I don't want to sneak up on a Bigfoot, or I don't want to sneak up on a dog man. Now I get a lot of hate for that in my videos. Like, you're not going to find anything. I'm like, why would I want to sneak up on a Bigfoot? Or why would I want to sneak up on a bear? Like, that doesn't make any sense. like, I'm not going to have a video to post because I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
So,
No
it's
playing
one of
tag with Bigfoot or anything. With the
right.
bears.
Yeah, dude. So and it's weird. There's situations, but I think personally, like, I think Bigfoot just wants to be left alone. Just like a lot of these other cryptids. I think that they have a purpose with their existence, and they're, just staying away. But now we are getting more and more sightings and reports of Bigfoot, like especially in this area, because more people are out here and more people are out in the woods, and so it's more likely somebody's going to end up having like a real close encounter with one of these things.
So, like, how far into a forest do you have to be to find a sighting or have evidence of anything?
Well, it really depends. A lot of the sightings, so I'm not sure how to describe this. So a lot of the sightings happen probably 50 miles into or not 50, probably 20 miles into the woods outside of the closest town. Now, for a person who grew up like in a small town, that doesn't seem like very far. But, to someone who grew up in a city, 20 miles out in the forest is an eternity. But a lot of these encounters end up happening around like forest, like landmarks, like waterfalls, or um, nice picnic areas. People are going out to these areas, and in a sense, they are already, pretty deep in the woods because they drove their car there. They're not off the trail though. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it really kind of depends. And I think a lot of these situations like occur as a result of, the gentrification that's happening. But a lot of them I think are just basically as a result of paranoia. They see a bear for the first time, or they'll see a coyote, and they get scared.
Or like for dogman, for example, like what kind of
Yeah,
procedures do you take in order to like protect yourself? Because I see a lot of people in your comments, for example, they'll be like, "Oh, we're so worried for you. Like,
yeah,
you got to be careful. You got to be safe." Like,
yeah.
do you? I mean, do you basically like know what you're doing, and like how do you protect yourself in the case of
Well,
emergency?
yeah, I am 100% trained. Like, you could drop me off into the woods and I would be okay. Um, and not only from actual like military training, but just the general of me being out in the woods my entire life. Like, I can carry myself. Now, a lot of people try to address my weapons, the way that I present weapons on my channel. So I'm a huge Second Amendment advocate. I personally think everybody should have a firearm. Now, with that, there is a massive responsibility for me who's trying to not only explore the paranormal, but try to inspire people to go out in the woods and go, just enjoy our world. I don't want people to feel like that they have to have a firearm to go out in the woods. I would highly suggest it. I carry one. I always do, but um, I have to be very careful with my channel as far as showing that. And this is, I guess I don't have to. It would make better videos if you saw me with my AR and my sidearm and my vest on. I'm like, I'm going to find Bigfoot. I mean, yeah, that would make for better TV. But at the end of the day, I'm a simple guy that likes being out in the woods, and I like searching for cryptids. So I want to inspire people to be able to go out and not feel like they always have to go out ready for war.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about having a net gun or something like a? Imagine a net gun, a big, you catch it in there.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. No,
I
I've thought about doing a lot of things, but at the same time, it's. I feel like I have a responsibility to my audience to make sure that I'm not overdoing it. So yeah.
yeah. For a Thunderbird, you had an experience when you're, or at least you had an experience that you thought was a Thunderbird when you were a kid, which is the Thunderbird.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like,
man.
what was that
Thunderbird.
experience like?
So the Thunderbird is a fascinating cryptid. For some reason, not many people cover the Thunderbird. I don't really know why, because we've got such rich documentation. Now, I guess I kind of only really know about like the Cherokee, the Native Americans that are in my area. So maybe it's not, out west as much. But we have this documentation of this cryptid, being out there. When I was younger, I was, again, out in the woods, and I got to a clearing, and the things that I heard and the things that I saw is just, there has to be something out there that is responsible for this. Now, granted, when I was a kid, even a bald eagle would have looked gigantic to me. So there's a possibility that I was mistaken. I'm not afraid to admit that. But there are a ton of signs of these, cryptids still being around. I know people are like they argue, well, somebody would notice a giant bird flying around, but the majority of people don't take time to like look up away from their phone. They don't see it. So, having dealing with, and I've gone to look for evidence now as an adult a couple times, and to be honest with you, the Thunderbird scares me, because even like a bald eagle, like if it wanted to, like it can mess you up, man. I mean, the claws on those things, like I don't know if you know this or not, but they ratchet, then they will actually lock into place when they grab their prey.
Yeah.
So having a bird that is bigger than even a bald eagle, like grab a hold of you, like you're done. Like, I mean, there's no getting around it. Now, in why do I think there's one in Appalachia? I think that we have the wildlife to support something like that. I really do, because of the Russian boar population that we have here. Um, as a result of the Europeans coming over, they brought the Russian boar on their boats, but this just happened to be the perfect environment for them, and they bred, and they're everywhere in very big numbers. So I would think that a giant bird could very well be there.
Yeah, and a lot of maybe belief behind cryptids also come from taking information from these cultures, like these Indian cultures and things like Native American cultures.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
some people take it as like mythological and be like, oh, they're telling a story. But like for
right.
you, do you see it as like maybe warnings or maybe uh, some kind of evidence to prove the existence of cryptids?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a species that is actually out there, like I really do, um, and I think that the Native Americans, they spent more time looking at the skies. They spent more time looking for tracks. So like the reason why that's written in their culture so much is because they experienced it firsthand. They saw it. In today's society, we try to dismiss that stuff just because we think that we have to have a body. We have to have the evidence. But in reality, we don't know how long these things can survive for. We don't know, their lifespans. I mean, we've got tortoises, that live, hundreds of years old. I mean, I think here even at the Knoxville Zoo, um, one of the tortoise that they have there, I think, came from the Galapagos Islands around the time like Darwin was there. So it's kind of people don't really understand how long these things could survive, and if it's going to be like I call like an alpha predator, you know, you're not going to find a body. Why would you? If it's able to continue to survive, um, it's possible it's still alive. Now there might not be very many of them, but it's possible that they're out there.
Cool. So last couple of questions before I close. Or
Yeah.
last two questions before I close. What did you learn? What are your biggest takeaways from the Baker's Peter Mansion? And then what are your biggest takeaways just in general from going out and exploring the forest? So we'll start with the Baker's Peters
Oh,
Mansion. Like, what's the
you
biggest
had to
takeaways you got?
bring you had to bring up Baker Peters, man. That place, holy crap, dude. That place is like another level, man. It's crazy. Like it's scary. Like it's scary, scary. Like people, yeah, they go and they have, dinner there or whatever, but that place, man, I don't know. I like and that's what makes this adventure that I'm on so interesting because you get locations like the Baker Peters mansions that totally twist your mind. Like when the first like experience that hold on, my condenser is trying to drain. There we go. The first experience that I had in there was like an experience that I never had in my entire life. Like I had no idea what I saw, and I still haven't released the footage from it because it was such a personal experience. Um, Not to mention the scream that I captured in the basement. I don't know if you saw that or the shadow
Yeah.
figure that I got there. Like there, we just have these places on in our country that are so amazing and they are so filled with history that we have to take the time to learn from them. I would say that would be my biggest takeaway because yes, the Baker Peters has a dark history. It absolutely does. There's a lot of bad things that happen there, and a lot of people should say that we ought to bulldoze the place. But in reality, that place has a door that can take you into understanding our existence on this earth, and um, yeah, it's about all I can say about that place. But God, dude,
Yeah, just real quick, like what was some unreleased stuff that you didn't put out? Am I sharing?
when I was in the kitchen, there's another angle of this figure that came up on me that I didn't release because to me, it's just one of those things that like I don't know. It's a very personal experience. I don't know really how to say it, but when I was in the kitchen there, and I was investigating the claims of the plates moving. And again, it came out of nowhere. It didn't happen the way that I thought that it would happen. I had been standing in that kitchen for, like 30, 45 minutes saying, "Hey, move something, show me what's happening here." And then I make the turn and this figure is on me. And it shook me. Like, I still think about it, and it like, I, I don't even know how to describe it because it was so intense, man. It's like, because also it doesn't fit into the most it doesn't fit into the description that most people have of ghosts and the paranormal. Because the thing that I experienced, I mean, it felt like, if you could imagine touching a cloud, but at the same time sticking your finger in an electric socket. Like, I mean, it was just so powerful. Like, it was, I don't know, man. It was just one of those things that, and I'm hesitant, and I don't want to put that footage out there because it was a personal connecting, experience with me. And at the same time, you've got the people out there that will quickly just dismiss it, and they'll like accuse me of trying to fake something for clout. But at the same time, like, I know it was real. Like, so it's a very, it's a fine line to walk, man. It's hard to do, but I don't know if I will ever. I might release it. I don't know. I might. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I could say also for myself too, that has happened to me as well, where I felt something stand right next to me. And the way you described it was actually pretty accurate, where you feel something very light touching you, but it kind of surges through electricity. Like, it's quite interesting how it comes about, because their bodies are very ethereal and very not as heavy and dense as ours in a sense.
Right.
Well, it's heavy in the sense their energy is heavy. The energy that they carry is very heavy and down. But the makeup of the body isn't matter like this. But all right, cool. So second one, biggest takeaways, maybe survival lessons from going outdoors. Like, what are your biggest takeaways from just searching for cryptids in the forest? And things like
that? Anytime that you go out in the forest, always make sure that you have at the very least one night worth of food and water, hands down. And you need to make sure that you have to, if you don't have the knowledge to be able to create fire on your own, make sure that you bring something with you that you can create fire with. And if you do get lost, do your best to try to not panic and take the time to sit, even if it's coming up on night, even if it's getting dark. Take the minute to take a breath and get your bearings and try to rationalize yourself, or rationalize the situation. But my biggest takeaway from all of this is that our world is not exactly what we have always been trained to think of it as. And there is definitely more out there than we can even comprehend. And I think that's a big part of it. And that's okay. We as humans have this feeling that we have to be able to understand everything. And we as humans need to learn that it's okay not to be able to understand everything. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Keep an open mind.
Yeah, exactly. Keep an open mind.
Keep an expanded mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. And then where can people find you?
Black Mass Paranormal on YouTube. I'm in the process of getting some distribution. You'll probably be able to find me anywhere about in the next 6 months. So,
yeah. Awesome. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about it. So,
yeah, I'm excited to see what you put out. It's gonna be cool.
Right on, dude. Well, it was great meeting you. I appreciate you taking the time and talking with me and everything. So, hope things go well for you.
Yeah, likewise. I can't wait to see just new investigations, new explorations see what you can put out there. So,
Right on, man.
all
All
right,
right, cool.
take it easy, Brian.
See y'all.